Like and subscribe and you'll have amazing luck for the rest of the week.
10 most dangerous water slides in the world. The world's most dangerous rides aren't upside-down roller coasters or rickety carnival rides. They're your favorite coasters with crazy splashdowns, terrifying manufactured waterfalls, and so much water flowing up your nose all day that you could open your own water park. That isn't merely a cynical viewpoint. The vast majority of water slides are completely risk-free. However, some of them are to blame for a steady stream of scrapes and bruises. Stick around to the end to find out some of the worst offenders. Some of them are so awful that they were eventually shut down permanently. Number 10. The Vertigo water slide. At Aqualandia in Benidorm, Spain, the Vertigo is a 108-foot-high water slide. Riders are basically dumped through a trapdoor, down a steep slide, and into the ocean, which sounds thrilling if you make it through the trapdoor. The problem? British visitor Jamie Norman was enjoying the Vertigo so much, he went on it 3 times. However, the 3rd time was different. The trapdoor didn't fully open, crushing his arms, legs, and face. It was terrifying. But Norman was treated by an on-site doctor and whisked out of the park with some complimentary zoo passes in exchange. Furthermore, the Vertigo was reopened around 10 minutes later, which doesn't feel like enough time to clean up the blood or repair a broken trapdoor. In July 2019, another visitor broke his back at the same water park. They were knocked unconscious while riding the splash slide. However, this visitor didn't follow the slide's guidelines. The park's answer reads. Number 9. The Steamer Water Slide. Canada. It's the US, but with a lot more common sense. That is, for the most part. Someone at the Calypso Water Park apparently missed the memo about prudence because the park isn't only operating a water slide that's shown to be harmful on multiple occasions, they're also pretending that it isn't unsafe, so people will continue to ride it. The steamer, described by the Ottawa Sun as something close to a toilet bowl, is one of the most notorious rides at the Calypso Water Park. Albeit, it isn't the only one. Riders of the steamer sit in tubes and circle a massive funnel before washing down an exit slide. If your inner tube doesn't roll over before you reach the exit, it sounds like a lot of fun. The park was accused of failing to notify the regulatory authority in charge of keeping Ottawa's amusement parks under check on the injuries sustained on the steamer. Ultimately, the park was charged with 20 safety infractions, none of which were later dropped due to a lack of evidence, according to the Ottawa Citizen, 14 of which were directly tied to 3 different incidents on the steamer in 2011. Number 8. The Aquasphere water slide. Cedar Point Water Park in Sandusky, Ohio, modestly claims to be the best amusement park in the world. A bit of a stretch, but perhaps even better than Disneyland. And they hope you won't remember a 2013 accident while determining whether or not to agree. In July 2013, something went horribly wrong. The river rafting simulation amusement Shoot the Rapids, to be specific. Passengers aboard a boat rolled backwards 187 feet down the lift track, colliding with a concrete flume, colliding with another boat, and then toppling over. Riders were buckled in and trapped upside down in the water, and the disaster was only slightly helped by the rapid actions of park employees and witnesses. The disaster occurred because 2 of the ride's safety systems failed. One that was designed to prohibit the boats from sliding backwards, and the other one that was supposed to keep the boats on the track. These sound like they could be important safety measures, don't they? In any case, the roller coaster wasn't formally decommissioned until 2016, and supposedly, most Cedar Point visitors were relieved to see it disappear. Number 7. 10-foot drop. If you haven't heard of it, Action Park was one of the most well-known water parks in the world. It was so well known that it was dubbed Traction Park or Class Action Park by locals. It was so infamous that it was shut down in 1996 after a total of 6 fatalities and so many injuries that no one seemed to be able to tally. However, Action Park didn't remain closed for long. It reopened in 2010, and rather than expressing regret for the park's lengthy and tumultuous past, the new owners seemed to embrace it. It was still known as Action Park for a long time. and the gift store even sold t-shirts with the endearing phrase, "I survived Action Park." There's nothing like a little solemn regard for the families of those slain by your rides. Number 6. The Aqua Scoot Waterslide. Waterslide designers take great effort to avoid sharp edges, but there's always those pesky seams that can hurt if they're hit at exactly the right angle. Imagine a waterslide made entirely of seams, except the seams are actually metal rollers, similar to those found on warehouse conveyor belts. Yes, someone at Action Park had the brilliant notion of building a slide out of warehouse rollers. Riders sped down the Aqua Scoot on a plastic sled, because, safety first, with the intention being to pick up a lot of speed, and then skipping across the water like a flat stone on the surface. The trouble was, if you weren't seated exactly right, you'd be flung off, and the pool was shallow, less than 2 feet deep, so your head would almost surely collide with concrete, and your lungs would collide with water. If you made it beyond that point, congratulations. Some unfortunate riders slid off the sled on the way down, resulting in severe injuries, especially involving the head, on their rough arrival at the pool down below. Collisions were also prevalent on this ride, since Action Park workers didn't bother to wait until one rider exited the water, or was carried away in a stretcher, before sending the next rider down. Caution is for wimps. Doesn't that sound like a good time? Number 5. The Black Hole. The Wet n Wild water park in Orlando is no longer open, which means the park's most famous water slide has joined the ranks of items that end up in black holes. The Black Hole was a winding attraction where passengers shot down a dark tube on a 2-person float and was at the center of many of the park's problems. In 1994, one guy was seriously hurt by the Black Hole, and they won a $1.73 million judgment against the park in 2000. The man claimed he was struck by something in the dark and couldn't move his legs when he got to the bottom of the slide. A titanium plate had to be inserted into his neck by doctors. The park claimed ignorance, which doesn't appear to be a particularly strong defense. "How would we know there was anything wrong with the ride if we didn't do safety inspections, Your Honor?" Employees testified throughout the trial that rafts were frequently trapped, and that attendants would send a fresh raft into the ride before the first was confirmed to have exited. That was arguably the Black Hole's biggest injury, but there were others as well. Tubes flipped, people fell off, tubes collided with other tubes, and it all happened primarily in the dark, making it extra super sucky. So farewell Wet n Wild and Black Hole, we won't miss you all that much. Number 4. Verrückt. It's terrible when someone's hurt or loses their lives while doing something that's supposed to be enjoyable, but the heinous things that happen to this child make it difficult to even contemplate, let alone put it into words. The Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City aspired to be the world's highest water slide. They built a 170-foot monster called Verrückt, which translates to mad in German. Caleb Schwab, a 10-year-old child, boarded the ride and literally lost their head when their raft grabbed air and collided with a pole. Caleb's family received a $20 million settlement from the park, but it's impossible to place a number on the life of this child, especially in such a tragic fashion. After 2 years of hanging over the park as a horrifying memorial to one of the worst catastrophes in water park history, Verrückt was thankfully permanently shut down and removed in 2018. Number 3. The Surf Hill. Almost every water park you've ever visited has an attraction that's identical to Surf Hill. It's a giant water slide that's divided into a number of side-by-side lanes, with riders racing each other to the bottom on mats. Though they hadn't sorted all the kinks out yet because one of the first slides of its type had an issue. It was quite easy to hop lanes because the boundaries weren't high enough. One stretch of the 7th lane dipped out a little faster than the rest, making it possible to catch some air. On their breaks, park employees would sit at the bottom of the slide in hopes of seeing a wipeout or maybe a misplaced bikini top. Riders were forced to choose between 2 bad options on their way to the bottom. Because there wasn't enough area at the bottom for the customary long, straight stretch that newer versions of these rides have, there was no way to slow down. Previously, there was only a water-filled basin that curved up to form a cushioned wall. You fell into the basin if you moved too slowly, but you slid up the curved wall and backwards into the basin if you went too fast. Number 2, the tallest water slide in the world. In February 2016, a photograph purporting to show a water slide with a view of Dubai began making the rounds on the internet. Many people mistook the image for being a genuine photograph taken from the top of the world's highest water slide, but it's actually a composite created by digital artist Robert Jans. Jans asked on Instagram when he first posted his design, asking for volunteers to go slide with him. Thank you, Jans, but no thanks. Number 1, slip and slide. Finally, despite the fact that you've probably heard of it, here's a water slide you had no clue was deadly. You might have even bought one for your kids since, let's face it, actual water parks are way too pricey. We're talking about the slip and slide, everyone's childhood favorite. But let's be honest, sliding around on plastic often leads to adults and teenagers who leap head first and strike or abruptly stop in such a way that could cause irreversible spinal cord injury. Reports claim that a slip and slide could cause quadriplegia or paraplegia. Man! Years later, it's still essentially the same design, and in 2018, it made the top 10 list of summer safety traps put forth by the Worlds Against Toys Causing Harm, or WATCH. We like a nice play on words. So all those years have done nothing to improve the situation. Needless to say, if you break out the slip and slide, make sure you're using it in a very open space. And be extra careful if you weigh more than the recommended 125 pounds. See you next time.